Hey guys, it's Ismail and Henry from Xanco Jewellers. We have a new series where we're going to be looking at each model from different watch brands every week. This week we're doing Patek Philippe. All right, so Patek Philippe, obviously we've been selling quite a few at the start of this year. And I think it'd be good to discuss, how they're doing on the market and then just ranking what we think for each model. So I guess we'll start with Aquanauts.
Yeah,
because obviously I think in the last few weeks at least, we've seen an uptick in the market.
Yeah.
So
we've seen a massive rise in people requesting Aquanauts. We think they're perfect watches because it also appeals to the modern generation as it allows them to get into Patek Philippe.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they've been so popular recently.
Yeah. All right, before we start, what's your favourite Aquanaut? Obviously we'll rank them.
We'll come on to that.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, so classic. It's the 5167A to start.
Nice.
I'm going to say that's S tier for me. And the reason being is since its inception, since it's been created, I think it's been the most versatile sports watch you can get from a Swiss watch brand.
Absolutely. I think it's an entry level of the top sports models that you can get at Patek. So I would agree. I think it was introduced to commemorate the 10th anniversary of the release of Patek in 2007. And I agree with you.
Yeah. All right, so we're putting that S tier, yeah? Okay, cool. That goes on to the rose gold version.
Yeah. I think the rose gold version, because it's just that extra step up in price, it's not as affordable, if you like, if there's such a thing as an affordable Patek. Yeah. But it's not as reachable for as many people.
Yeah, and I feel like with rose gold at least, it's not the most versatile.
Yeah.
Does that go more into then a dress watch?
Exactly. It's not an everyday watch.
Steel? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then where are you putting the 5167R?
I'm going to go B.
B?
I think that's a bit harsh.
I'll put it at B. It's a nice watch.
Yeah.
It is a nice watch, but I'll put it at B as well.
Yeah. It's not as complicated as some of the others, which is why I wouldn't have put it in A.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. All right, and then going on to the 5164A. Now this one has to be a favourite of mine. I think it was discontinued just recently as well, which makes it even more exclusive. On the market, God, they've been going up every week. I mean, used to be selling around, 50,000? Yeah. Now you're looking plus 60,000 for a newer 2024 model, probably around 63, 64,000.
It was the first time they kind of put a complication in an Aquanaut that wasn't just a date function.
Exactly.
And the travel time, it probably is one of the most useful complications that you can have in a Patek in terms of real world, real life.
But do you feel like you actually use GMT functions when you have a GMT watch?
That's the thing. It's the one I would use the most if it was, apart from the date.
Yeah, I guess.
But it's not something I always look out for a watch. I think aesthetically it's lovely. It's a bit thicker, doesn't fit under the wrist as well as the 5167.
Yeah, you're looking at a few millimeters difference.
Yeah.
For that, I mean, I think proportionally it looks a lot better than 5167. For me, it's too plain.
Yeah.
The 5167, but the 5164, proportionally, I don't know why. It's just maybe the symmetry on the dial. Yeah. It looks clean, and I quite like the height compared to the 5167.
I like the bit more weight on it, especially as a bigger guy. Yeah. A bit more weight and a bit of a bigger watch.
So then,
I think it's great.
Ranking it?
I don't think it's quite S.
No, I was going to say that.
I'm not as harsh as B.
So A?
I think we're agreed.
You're putting it A.
What do you think?
Yeah, I guess. And then now I'm kind of thinking, should I put 5167S? Or should I put that A and then the 5164S?
You think it should be S?
I don't know, because I'm saying that I prefer the watch, so I might as well rank it there.
Yeah. I suppose it's down to personal preference.
Yeah.
Or are we looking at it overall?
You know what? I'm going to rank it based on the fact that with the 5164, like I said, even with, I have a GMT, I'm guilty of not using the dual time zone function. So for that reason, can you justify spending maybe 20 grand more for something that you potentially might not use? That's my personal opinion. I don't know if that's the same for you. Yeah. But I'll agree with A. I'll agree with A. We can put it there.
I think that's probably why it doesn't go to the S tier.
Yeah, I think if you're going to get a travel time, then there's a lot of other options from different brands even that, would suit that kind of price bracket more.
Yeah. you may as well spend, you know, £15,000 on a GMT Master.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough.
All right, going on to a similar kind of look, but obviously different function. So the 5968G, this is the green or khaki green, they call it. For me, it's a weird color. I'm not sure it's the most versatile, but I would say it kind of goes into a summer piece. Yeah. And that's pretty much where I would leave it. Yeah,
I agree. I mean, obviously the whole point behind the tropical strap on an Aquanaut is that it's, you know, it's it's resistant to UV radiation, to salt water, so it doesn't break down, and that's the whole reason why Patek made it that way. I think I agree. The Aquanaut is a summer watch.
But then the white gold?
The white gold is
that's
different.
That's not so resistant to anything.
It's not, and it's tough. We've had a couple of clients that have come to us and said, you know, you breathe on it and it scratches. Yeah. But I still think, you know, if you're wearing it in the summer, you're diving into the sea, you know, you're on boats, a few drinks, you know.
What are you like with your watches on holiday when you go into?
I don't care.
Really?
You're wearing it, you're enjoying life.
Do you never do that thing where you're like in the water and then you keep looking at it to make sure that it's still working?
Yeah, true. Make sure I've closed the crown. Exactly. There's no water in it, especially after a few.
But where are you in terms of ABC?
So obviously there was the blue that was introduced with it. I know we saw them both in the 5168G that I'm sure we'll come on to. Yeah. I don't think the blue was a big enough change from the black.
Yeah, I guess it's a dark blue.
It doesn't pop out as much. Yeah. The green I prefer because I feel like it's more maybe versatile.
I'm gonna go though. If I was to rank it, I'd put it at C for me.
I agree.
Because the size as well. Yeah. So we're looking at what 42 millimeters. Yeah. And it's thick.
And it's heavy.
Because of the white gold case. So it's top heavy as well because it's got the rubber bracelet.
Exactly. So you lose the thing that you love about the 5167 in that it's thin. It fits on your wrist. Yeah. But also you don't necessarily get the complication, the travel time.
Exactly. So it's just a chronograph, but are you going to use the chronograph function?
Exactly.
Maybe not. Exactly. But I would say, look, great summer piece. Not particular for me, especially with my small wrists. Sure. But I'm sure a lot of people can pull it off. So I'll put it. So then that goes on to the blue 5168G, which is the non-chrono version. I'm going to put that as C straight away, and I think you're going to agree with me. Yeah. If there was a D, I'd put it there.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I just think
it's neither here nor there.
Exactly. Like if you're talking about a watch and relatively on the market now for a newer model, we're looking at 60 odd. Yeah. 50 to 60 depending on the year and condition.
You're paying for the white gold. Yeah. You know, and a blue that's not as noticeable or likable to be able to pay that extra money.
Exactly. So, and then if you're going to talk about blue Aquanauts, I'd much rather park my money in the new blue.
Absolutely.
Pastel blue / grey colour.
When you asked what my favourite one was.
Okay.
We could be getting close to it.
No, well then I'm going to go on to one I think deserves the top spot. Okay. And that's the 5968A. Yeah. I'll put that S tier.
Very popular watch.
Very popular, and I feel like it's the perfect, because you get the two strap options.
That's what I was going to say, because you say it's a summer watch. I feel like the 5968A on the black strap is a watch for all year round. Yeah. And then you just bang it on the orange when you go to Nice or Cannes.
Exactly.
And you're in the club.
Yeah, and I guess it comes with because the other, you know what Patek are like with giving straps now, it's impossible. So you can't mix and match like you used to be able to. And it's not really, it's almost a taboo subject of like putting a 5167 with the red strap, for example, because it looks like you're trying to force having a Singapore edition.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's quite snobby.
It is quite snobby, but I feel like that's what makes it more exclusive. That's what puts it at that tier.
We've had clients that have come in that have bought complications or grand complications, and they've put a new strap on it, and it's a completely different watch. Yeah. And it's actually might be what they need to get more people into those watches that are selling quite a lot under retail.
I guess, but maybe I'm a bit snobby as well because I just don't. I feel like the sports models now should just be left how they are. Yeah. I feel like the look and feel before when Patek, for example, the Aquanaut, you used to have the 5065, 5066, and Patek have like 8-9 different colours you could do. It's like burgundy, dark blue, light blue, khaki, brown, cream. that was fun back in the day, but I just feel like it doesn't work now. It's just it's like such a people don't talk about it.
It's not a swatch.
It's exactly.
It's not a swatch.
Keep the watches how they are. But that's why 5968A, great watch, holds its value, amazing on the market.
Sure.
So that's S tier for me, because of the versatility.
Yeah.
Because it's stainless steel, but because it's still very hard to get.
Even though it's a big watch, it's not as heavy as your white gold versions, which is why I prefer it as well.
100%. Okay, so next Aquanaut 5968R, and we have one in stock, and I'm gonna say it's a beautiful looking watch, but is it as good looking as a 5164R? It's kind of the same as we were saying before.
The only thing with these Aquanauts, when they do it in rose gold, obviously this is the first time they've used rose gold in the 5968 range, is they've just copied and pasted from 5167R when it was first introduced. I think it was 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether I want them to mix it up a bit, because obviously the brown with the rose is perfect. Yep. I think that's why the 5164R is a lovely watch.
Yeah, and the 67R.
And exactly, the 67R. I don't know why the 64 hits harder on the rose for me. It
does, yeah.
It just does. I mean, when you see it in person, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't think it was needed in the 5968. There's not an appetite for that big a watch, at least not to the masses. For individual people, you know, we've got clients that buy them and absolutely love them because they love the weight on the wrist and they love the pop of the rose rather than the white gold. I'm putting C.
You're putting C?
I think it's a bit harsh.
I would somewhat agree with you. I think
it's just because I'm not a fan of the 5968.
Yeah, I mean, the way we're going is pretty much that any 5968 is going to be in that bottom tier, but that's mainly due to the clunkiness of the watch.
Apart from the steel.
Apart from the steel, exactly. So then, but then that's obviously very personal because for people with larger wrists that like a bit of wrist presence, I think it deserves
100%
maybe a higher spot. I would put it in B.
Okay.
But for the sake of,
I'm happy to meet in the middle.
Yeah, Mazal. We'll put it there then. We'll put it in the middle. It's going to be on C in the video, but just know it's in between B and C.
Yeah, it's in B.
Okay, so going on to, I'm going to go with your favorite then, the 5164G.
Yeah.
New release.
So everything I said before about white gold in the Aquanaut, just ignore that, because I forgive it for this watch.
Yeah.
The blue grey that was introduced, I think it was introduced with the 5261, or whether the 5261 Ladies Aquanaut was first introduced with the blue grey. It was nice on that piece, nice on the rose, but on the white gold.
Yeah. They came out more at a similar time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the white gold is a lot more versatile. B, it looks a lot cleaner.
Yeah.
I think it's flush, everything's flush, whereas the rose gold is a bit much of a contrast.
Yeah, agreed.
So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of the 5261R, but I mean, you'll see it in one of the YouTube reviews that we did before. I think, although that, you know, the dial is balanced quite well, for some people, it's a lot going on because of the annual calendar on the watch. So for that reason, we left it out of this video.
I think it was a 39mm case as well.
Yeah, exactly.
It's technically a lady, so we didn't really sort of steer towards the ladies' pieces.
Whereas this one, I think, you know, I mean, it could be a unisex piece, but...
Is it S tier?
I'm floating between the two right now, but...
I would like to put it in S tier, but it's down to you. Have we seen it survive its uptick since its release?
I mean, if you're talking about value, then it's held its value really well.
Value. I think it was around 110, 120 when it first came out, and it's still around 100.
Yeah, I mean, it's over 100. I think it will stay that way.
Yeah.
You know, it's similar to the Cubituses we've seen. They haven't really dropped that much.
No, I mean, the first week was probably the biggest drop.
Was terrible,
we've
but
ever seen.
After that, it's...
and we omitted them because we didn't have an F. So.
Well, I'll put the S tier as well, because I love the colour.
Nice.
All right. So the 5164R, we've been talking about it a lot.
Yep.
I'm going to say S tier for me.
Yep.
Because obviously all the touch points that we put on, it's the rose mixed with the travel time. I think, you know what, the day and night indication with the blue and white is just a nice contrast to the rest of the dial.
That is the biggest thing with the 5164A, is that it pops out a bit more, it looks out of place.
Yeah.
But I agree on the rose.
I think
it's stunning.
The blue and the white, just, I don't know, it just contrasts nicely with the dial.
Yeah.
you know, the case size is perfect for pretty much anyone. And yeah, the function, if you do use GMT functions, not like me, then I'm sure it would be very useful. But yeah, that's definitely the watch for you. And then I'm going to say this is like the grail for a lot of people in the Aquanaut range, which we've kind of started with, and that's the Terminator, or
I forgot this was coming.
Yeah.
We might have gone a bit early on our S tiers, to be fair.
Yeah.
Because
we're putting a lot of S tiers.
We are putting a lot of S tiers. That is in like a triple S tier, because obviously it was used in collaboration with Advanced Research, which is the department in Patek that mainly focus on innovation, but in a completely different way to what Patek are used to. They've obviously used quite a few elements in that watch, partly skeletonized dial. I think it was to mark was it the 30th anniversary?
It was the 30th anniversary
of the Aquanaut line.
Yeah.
And I think it was introduced to mark the 20th anniversary, and there was no better way, I think, to commemorate it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're talking about the history of it, then yeah, I agree. I think the first ever sports model to be introduced to the Advanced Research kind of concept pieces that Patek make, then 100% I would put it a tier above S.
Yeah.
But in the way it looks, and it might just be me, I'm playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah, I mean, we sold one 3 or 4 months ago.
Exactly, and seeing it in person was underwhelming. And the only reason I say that is because although the half skeleton face looks great, I feel it's not as in depth as I thought it would be.
Sure.
And then the other problem being the blue is very similar to the 5968.
Yeah.
Or the 5168 blue.
No, I agree.
So then it just feels too similar of a watch, and I don't know. I mean, collectible for sure.
Yeah.
And you're looking at...
Is it 500 made?
Yeah, 500 made.
Yeah, in 2017.
Only 500 pieces made, and you're looking at market value today is around 460,000.
Yeah, up to 500.
Up to 500, depending on, we've seen some that are single sealed, double sealed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say if you can get it, get it. For me personally, it would only be a collectible, but for some, that is the holy grail of the Aquanaut range. So
it's a very subtle flex for someone to have, because it's not showy, it's not in your face, but if somebody who knows their stuff about watches, who enjoys horology, sees it on your wrist, there's that, that little bit of approval between you.
Yeah.
But I agree A.
A?
If you think A.
Yeah, I think A.
I'll go A.
We're going to get a lot of stick for that.
Yeah, absolutely. But seeing it in person, I agree.
Okay, cool. All right. Nautilus.
Nice.
Talk to me. I think... All right, we're going to start with the 5711 because that's obviously the staple piece.
Yeah.
I know what you're going to say.
Let's give it a bit of history first.
Yeah.
30th anniversary.
Yes.
Introduction. Obviously, let's give it some depth. The first iteration of it, the 3700, was introduced in the 70s. I think it was 1976.
Yep.
And
Xanco DNA.
Exactly. Yep. Xanco obviously introduced the first ever luxury steel sports model.
Yeah, that was with AP. Right?
Exactly, with AP in 72. But the biggest thing about both of them is that they saved the automatic mechanical watch industry from the quartz crisis that was going on at the time.
But do you rate your watches based on the history of it? Or
I just wanted to give the viewers a little bit of a backstory of the watch. So 30th anniversary, 5711. I think it's a great piece. Do I think it's the best Nautilus? No.
Okay. For me, I'm not going to base it based on the history. I'm going to go purely off of what I think is good market value today.
Okay.
And also what I think, is superior to that.
I know exactly what you're going to say, and I agree with you, for sure.
So, if you're looking at other models in the Nautilus range, I would say there's a lot more you can park your money into.
Yeah.
If you are going to go 5711, for me personally, I wouldn't even say blue. I'd say the white dial is a lot cleaner and crisper. And I think it's more niche and not everyone has it, where I feel like everyone wants to go for the blue. Obviously, it's the most classic piece. It's the first colour they released with the watch, but for me...
I mean, I don't think we've included the white. I do prefer the blue.
Okay.
I think because my skin's too white, it would get lost in it. It looks like I wouldn't have a dial on it. So I agree, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the blue. Where do you want to put it?
I'm putting it A. Because I don't get me wrong, I love the watch. I just think there's better Nautilus
So you just
models.
said history.
Yeah, I mean, look, market value, it's all right. It's good.
Yeah. I think 3 weeks ago, we would have said the 5712 was better value at the money.
Yeah, but now...
Since it's been discontinued...
Yeah, it's changed a bit.
Exactly, it's ruined it a little bit, but give it maybe a year, 6 months to a year.
We'll
could
see where the market's at.
Exactly, settle down.
Yeah, I'm putting it A. I don't know about you.
Okay, I'm happy with that.
All right, cool. Which then goes on to the 5712A, which obviously got discontinued quite recently by Patek Philippe.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're seeing that more recently. They're phasing out stainless steel, replacing it with white gold seems to be the new push. It'll be interesting to see what comes out this year. Maybe they do yellow gold introductions again.
Yeah,
like
back
they
to
used
the J
to do
reference.
3700J, 3800J.
True, which is one of my favourite watches.
Exactly. So then,
definitely
be interesting. I don't think they will. But
no, I think it's too controversial for them.
Exactly.
Especially after the Cubitus, which, you know, was like a lead balloon when it was released.
No more controversial moves here.
But interesting about the 5712 is that people think it's the first time that a Nautilus had a moon phase and a power reserve put on a watch. But it's actually, there was a 3712 that was introduced.
Really?
In 2005, which was only in production for 1 year. So the very, very limited amount of watches. And a year later, they then introduced the 5712. I think it was 2006, the 5711 was introduced, 5712.
All the 5 references.
Yeah, pretty much the 5 references was introduced. But that 3712, not a lot of difference between them. I don't know why they only produced it for a year.
Right.
And then decided to scrap it, maybe just to keep it in line with the 5 reference. But that's a pretty cool piece. So if you can get one or you have one, check your granddad's drawer. He might have one in there.
We'll definitely buy it off you. So
100%.
No, so the 5712, I'm going to put A as well. Even though I think it's better than the 5711 blue, I just don't think it's quite S tier.
Put it in front of the 5711, I think.
Yeah, we'll put it in front of the 5711.
I think we're being a bit harsher on the Nautilus than we are Aquanaut.
Yeah.
I just think there's quite a lot of them.
There's quite a few Nautilus you can put in S tier, and I just don't think 5712. Don't get me wrong, you know, there's more function, but does that mean it's S tier? I don't think so.
Sure.
All right, so then let's go a bit left. The 5981AR, again a discontinued piece.
We've sold a few.
We have?
Over the last few months. I like it. Do I like it more than the full rose? And do I like it more than the steel? The full steel? Actually, I like it more than the full rose.
You like it more than the full rose?
Yeah. Because
probably the first person to ever say that.
Because the blue sunburst dial on it suits it a lot better than the black that's on the 59 on 5980/1R.
Yeah.
And there's better full rose Nautiluses on the line.
Okay.
Than the 5980.
I mean, for me, the 1AR has always been a thing where I've always hated it from afar, but then when you have it in hand, you can see why it does so well on the market. Because it does bring a completely versatile piece into the Nautilus range, where you get a bit of both worlds. I mean, don't get me wrong, Nautiluses all look sporty, and you'd be lying if you said they don't. Obviously, I would say the 5712 does look more on the kind of classic contemporary style, where it is more of a dress watch. Even the 5711, the 1R, the 1A, definitely more versatile in that sense.
But when you fit under the cuff, more of a dress watch.
I mean, it's like 8mm, so you know they're extremely thin. Whereas the 5980, it's a lot bigger. So watch, then I would say, for that reason, I would also put it. I'm going to put 5980 1AR B, because although it's, you know, a good mix in between, I don't think it is quite.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. It's not at the level of the 5711 or the 5712.
No.
I think it's too harsh to go C. I've got a couple to put in C. So I'll meet in the middle. We'll go B.
Okay, so I think I know which one you're going to put in C, which is the 5712G. Am I right? You want to put that in C?
Know me too well. Leather strap on a Nautilus Not for me.
No?
Why? Look, I understand it. It's my own personal preference. I'm sure a lot of you will disagree. White gold as well. It's one of the most requested watches. Don't get me wrong. It's a popular watch.
Very popular.
It's hard to find since it's been discontinued as well. A lot of people want the 23s, 24s.
I'm gonna throw this in though. 5712G compared to a 5726A. You're looking more or less, not exactly the same prices, but quite similar in terms of, all right, you're getting a white gold watch for maybe 10, 15 grand more than you're paying for a stainless steel model.
Full bracelet?
No, for the leather.
For the leather on the 5726 as well. It's all leather for me.
Okay.
I'm just not the biggest fan of a leather strap on a Nautilus.
I don't know. I feel like it mixes it up. It's nice to see a Nautilus that isn't a full bracelet.
Yeah, I agree, but I like seeing a mix-up like on the 5980 1AR.
Okay.
I prefer that kind of mix-up rather than a strap.
You're going to put this at C?
I would go C, but I'd go C.
I'll go C only based on the fact that I don't think it's something I would personally wear all the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put it at the top of C for now, and we'll see what comes in front of that. But yeah, I can meet you there. So then the 5990 1A, I'll go with to mix things up because we're talking about, you know, the 5990 1AR.
It's got the chronograph and the travel time function.
Yeah.
With the blue dial, we've chosen this
blue
one,
dial,
which I think was introduced in 2022, was it, when the grey dial was discontinued? It's a good watch.
Good watch.
I like the blue. Again, running theme. I like the blue dial. I think it's big. It's thick.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's combined the two functions of 5726. Obviously, big fan of the blue, but I think I prefer it to 5980 because it adds in the travel time function, but it also has the chronograph. However, you do have to forfeit the size and the thickness on your wrist. Again, as a bigger guy, it's a nice watch, bit of weight there, but it doesn't cater to everyone.
It doesn't. And, you know, obviously I'm going to go with the masses. They probably prefer 5990 rose.
Yeah, true.
In terms of the look and feel of the watch, I feel like for a stainless steel piece, are you overpaying based on, you know, the rest of the Nautilus range?
Yeah,
that's something to consider. But I'd put it in A tier though. Yeah,
I would go A. Because of the complications that are in the watch. I would agree.
Okay, and then the next watch, 5712R with the leather strap. I know you're going to put that as C as well, based on our discussion of the 5712G.
But look, I'm open to opinions. Have you got an argument?
No, because I actually prefer the G to the R.
Fair enough.
I think if you are going to go for a rose gold Nautilus, it's 5711 1R or the 5712 1R.
Yeah.
Are my personal favourites.
Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, I'm happy to put this one at C as well. Yeah. I'm actually going to put it at the last of C because it's my least favourite out of all of them.
Agreed.
Okay, then the 5711 1R, where are you putting that in terms of everything? Because I remember when they discontinued and prices went well over like 300,000 at the time.
Yeah, they went pretty crazy. But now they've settled, I would say, less than I thought they would.
Yeah. Because
you can pick one up, 110s, 120s.
Exactly.
But I also think that's because of the introduction of the 5712/1R. That
did have a pretty large effect on it.
I would rather spend an extra 30, 40, 50k if I had it to put it into that full rose.
Okay.
I'd rather wait a bit longer, save a bit more money.
For the 5712 instead of 5711.
Yeah.
You know what? I was having a discussion with a client recently about this, and he said for him the 5712 1R dial, the asymmetry of it makes it less appealing to him than the 5711 1R.
That's interesting.
And I think I'm going to agree with him on that one.
Do you think he would also think the same on the steel with the blue?
No, and the reason is I think the contrast makes the difference.
On the brown.
The blue and the stainless steel is a nice contrast. The brown and then the brown grey dial of the 5712 1R.
Because it is still a bit of a different dial compared to the 5711R.
Yeah, it's too flush, and then I feel like I would go for the 5711 1R.
Interesting.
So I'm going to put the 1R for me is A tier as well. If we put the blue,
look, I'm not. It's the first full bracelet rose gold Nautilus.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So for the clout, we'll put
sure.
We'll put it
yeah,
there.
I'll take that.
Okay, for sure. And then the 5980 1R discontinued piece as well.
For good reason. No, for a full rose, it's my least favourite Nautilus.
Really?
Yeah. It's neither here nor there. It's not the blue sunburst of the 5990, and it hasn't got the sleek appeal of the 5711 or even the 5712.
Yeah.
I would go C. Might be a bit harsh. It's up to you.
I think it's a great watch, and what we've seen in terms of market value is held really well.
Yeah,
you know, you can pick them up around 130, 140, depending on the year and condition. It's a good option for those who prefer something chunkier in that range, but not spending the 59.90 money.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So for that reason, I would put it at B, just because it does offer that versatility.
Okay.
Obviously, you could say the argument, all right, get 5981 AR, but it's not quite a rose gold watch.
That's fair enough.
You know, halfway there.
That is probably neither here nor there, but I just think the difference in dial is down to my personal preference. I would go C, but I agree, we'll go B on it.
I'm going to put it B.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
All right, cool. And then the personal favourite of mine, Nautilus, I'm going 5740G, and that is S tier. And I'm not going to listen to your opinion. I'm putting it up.
100% agree. I think it's stunning. The perpetual calendar on a Nautilus.
Yeah.
Obviously, perpetual calendar, the movement that Patek are famous for on a Nautilus, which is their most famous model.
Yeah.
What's not to love?
Yeah, and I think the blue against the white gold works so nicely. You know, people might say, all right, you can get a 5712, 5711, but the contrast, especially in person, isn't quite the same. White gold is always a lot brighter.
Yeah.
And you can tell the difference.
The blue's more subtle.
And the blue is more subtle.
Yeah,
it's more,
it's not as dark.
It's lighter, right?
Yeah.
So for that reason, just aesthetically, from an aesthetic standpoint alone, regardless of the price, the market value, I think that is 100% an S tier Nautilus.
Have you put it in the S tier already?
I've put it there already.
Yeah. I'd put it at the front. For sure.
I'll move it there because I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. We can't quite. Yeah.
Done. Perfect. So next one is an anniversary piece.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. We've had a few inquiries for these recently.
Also, a few clients wanting to sell.
Exactly.
I think it was obviously it's 40th anniversary.
Yeah.
As the inscription says at the 6 o'clock.
So this is the 5711P. It's limited to 700 pieces, I believe. Obviously a statement piece.
It is, and obviously got the baguette hour markers on it as well.
Yep.
Which is quite interesting. I don't like it.
Right. Reason for that?
Having the inscription at the 6 o'clock, obviously saying 1976 and then 2016. I'm not the biggest fan of it.
Yeah.
I think it looks a bit out of place. Obviously, I like the fact that it's platinum. Adds a bit of a different aspect to it. Obviously, got the baguette diamonds on it.
Yeah.
But if I was to go for a 5711/1P, I'd go for the ruby. I'd go for the diamond. I'd go for the emerald or the sapphire.
That's fair enough.
Hands down.
And I feel like, you know, for that amount of money, okay, yes, you're getting a platinum watch, but you're more or less going into the grand complication kind of price range.
100%.
I'd much rather pay the money for something that I feel offers a lot more than this watch does.
There's a grand complication coming up that we sold recently.
Exactly.
That is, you know, half the money, but
that's where I'm getting at.
Double the watch.
I'll put this at C.
Yeah. You're paying a lot of money for a 40th anniversary.
Yeah, you are. Which then goes on to another 40th anniversary, which is the 5976/1G. Where are you putting this one?
I think that was a limited production again. I think it was about 1,300 pieces. Again, inscription at the 6 o'clock. It's a chunkier watch, and it's not even as special as a platinum.
Yeah. So then
it's white gold.
We're putting that at C as well, then I guess.
They could have done a lot better for the 40th. I mean, I hope for the 50th anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
Next year, I want something special.
I'm sure we will. The way Patek have been innovating and making new pieces, I think we're in store for something a lot better.
As we'll find out over the next few, they commemorated the 5711 a lot better than they did the Nautilus altogether.
For sure. Which then obviously goes on to the 5711 1A, but with the green dial, which was a year only in production. They did introduce it as well with the diamond bezel.
They did.
Which was one of my personal favourite watches at the time.
Stunning. We're going to do a gem set offshoot of the Patek.
Exactly, because that is in a category of itself. At the time, in 2021, obviously commemorating the end of 5711.
Yeah. It's a bit of a funeral piece.
Yeah, and I think it was great because green was very in trend at that time as well. And I think Patek arguably set precedent for the rest of the brands. Obviously, AP followed next year in 2022 with their anniversary piece on the Royal Oak. You know, you saw Cartier introduce green, you saw Omega introduce green. 100%. So I think they definitely put that into the market.
And set the trend with it.
Because blue was previously probably the most sought after colour, and now what you see, even today, a lot of people are opting for the green.
Yeah, I mean the 15510 ST.
Exactly.
The only ones that we ever really get requested. The blue used to be the one.
Yeah.
Now it's green.
Exactly. 26040 ST as well. So.
But you can't really notice that difference between the black as well. So the fact it's got such a cult following for a green dial is interesting. I can see it.
I think it's due to the exclusivity of it.
Yeah.
I mean, look, when the diamond bezel one came out, for example, that was upwards of £1 million.
I tell you what, I think that pushed the green dial popularity more.
Yeah.
Because they released them, I think it was about the same time.
Around the same
they
time.
showed the different variations of the watch. So yeah, I think that pushed the green as a popularity, but also because it was only a year.
Exactly.
So they're really, really rare. We actually had a 2024
new old stock.
Yeah, new old stock, which wasn't released until 2024, even though it was only a sort of a 21, 22 watch. Yeah. So it was quite interesting.
So where are you ranking this one? Because I still think it deserves to be an A.
Yeah, if we're not putting the original blue in S tier, we can't really put the green.
No, exactly. All right, we'll put the green there. And then controversial piece.
Yeah.
The Tiffany, limited to 170 pieces. You have to be a client of Tiffany in New York
to buy it.
To buy it.
Yeah, it was because it was to sort of celebrate the 170th.
Exactly. And obviously they had discontinued the piece already.
Exactly, anniversary partnership between them.
Controversy in the auctions, obviously, you know, selling around $7 million. I mean, for me, this piece was great at the time, but the more and more I see requests for it, or I see the market price of it now, I think there's just so many watches from Patek alone that you could put your money into.
It hasn't
that are
settled
a lot
well.
better.
The biggest word that I associate with that watch is a gimmick.
Right.
Because Tiffany & Co., obviously 170-year collaboration with Patek Philippe, it's incredible to get your hands on a Tiffany & Co. Patek.
Yeah.
Because they used to do them on normal models. You know, they still do.
And they still do, yeah.
And that is another subtle flex, like we were talking about with the 5650G.
Yeah.
But to put it so overtly out there with the Tiffany blue dial, instead of having the subtle Tiffany & Co., I feel like they missed the point of the collaboration on that.
Yeah, I guess a caveat to that, though, is that they had been producing these subtle, like, I guess you could put them in the quiet luxury kind of space
100%.
of, you know, just a simple Tiffany & Co. stamp on these other models. So maybe it deserved, for the occasion, to be something different.
To be in the limelight.
And to be, I mean, 170 only made, right?
Yeah.
So you're looking at extremely, extremely low numbers of production. If you see it in person, you know what you're kind of looking at.
It made a massive splash.
Yeah.
For sure.
So,
but I agree, because now they've settled around the 1.2, 1.3 million pound mark.
Yeah.
Obviously that first one was about $7 million. You can get so much more for that.
You can. So for that reason, I'm going to be harsh, I'm going to say B.
I'd have gone C.
Really?
But let's go B, just because it's 5711.
Yeah,
just because it's 5711.
For sure. And then the last Nautilus we have on the tier list, it's the new one, 5980/60G, the denim, they might nickname it. I have mixed opinions on this one, because I feel like it's nice and it's refreshing that they put this out.
It is, yeah.
It's held its value extremely well as well. So
I think that's the biggest thing we've got in common on this tier list at the moment, is that the things that are different, the green dial, 5740 with the perpetual calendar, even for me, the 5980/1AR,
yeah,
they're all subtle differences and variations of the Nautilus. I would agree. Denim strap
hit and miss.
Is hit and miss. I think they were bold.
Yeah,
I think it was bold.
I think it definitely appeals more to a younger crowd.
Sure, your crypto billionaires.
New money.
Exactly,
I think
for sure.
in a way it does appeal to that, and I think it's just because of the. I guess it's left field. It's not as classy as what you would expect from Patek to create, and for that reason, you know.
I think it was interesting because they discontinued the 5980 range. And then introduced this.
Yeah, I mean they got rid of the 1R and replaced it with something that's not even a full bracelet as well. So yeah, I mean
it's hard for me. I quite like the watch.
Okay.
Would I wear it with the denim? I probably couldn't get away with it.
You'd wear a triple denim.
Yeah, exactly. I go triple denim.
Jeans,
denim jacket. To Texas, little hat, cowboy boots.
Nice.
Bang it on. It's hard. I wouldn't wear it, but I like it.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So where do I put it? Where do we put it?
You know what? Because there's a watch in the range that is not on the list, but I would wear it over this, which is the 5726 1A, the full bracelet.
Yeah. Which dial?
Not to say that they're similar. It's got the blue dial.
Yeah.
Not to say they're similar, but I just feel like this one is maybe too left field for me.
Yeah.
You can't. It's not as versatile because of the strap.
No. And again, you're paying for white gold.
Exactly. But yeah, I do like it as well. So I guess we're putting it B.
I'll take a B.
Yeah.
The Tiffany Nautilus should be at C, but
it's staying at B. Now, juicy bit. Grand complications.
Yeah.
Obviously, something we've been getting into a lot more as a company.
Absolutely. Going to test our knowledge here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, from a standpoint of Patek in general, I think these watches are so underlooked.
Massively so.
And they need more attention. And I guess that's something we're trying to do.
Especially in our generation.
Yeah.
I mean, I think people might see them as a bit stuffy, old-fashioned.
Yeah.
But if you love your watches, and it's some of them value for money wise, incredible.
Yeah.
And you won't see many people wearing it, but you might see a lot of people wearing a Nautilus or an Aquanaut.
Exactly.
You can stand out.
For sure. All right, so then we're going to start with a big boy, one that we sold at the mid last year, early last year. It was a 6301P. That's with the Grand Sonnier and Petite Sonnier function. Where do you see that?
The contrast between even the Aquanauts that we started looking at is incredible. Obviously this watch, if you don't sort of put it on silent mode, which you can do, will just keep ringing. So the Grand Sonnerie will effectively keep ringing every hour, and then every quarter past the hour. It has another mode, which is the Petite Sonnerie, that will just do the hour, and it's effectively continuous. Obviously, there's a minute repeater, I think, on this list as well, and we'll tell you the difference when it comes to that. This is an incredibly complicated watch.
Yeah.
And the movement is unlike anything else that we've seen prior to this. It's a big hitter to go into the Grand Comps.
For sure.
Straight away.
I mean, obviously this piece, like you said, being a big hitter, is around the £1.7 million mark.
Yeah.
You know, do you think there's other models you'd rather take along that Grand Complication line?
It depends. I think, and because you have to be so careful when you're setting Grand Complications, as the movement can break, and we do so much homework on that every time we get a watch in. Do I want to be setting it and putting it on silent mode if I forget to?
I know what you mean.
To take it off Grand Sonnerie or Petite Sonnerie? I don't know, but it's not a watch that I'm wearing every day.
No, for sure. It's definitely more of a occasion piece.
Yeah.
And I would say everyone likes to hear a chime on a watch.
Absolutely.
This one in particular, I believe, has cathedral gongs.
Yeah.
So it sounds amazing when you do play it, and I'm sure we can put a clip in this video as well at the end, maybe.
Of the one that we had.
Exactly, of the one that we had, just to show just how nice the chime actually is. For that reason, I'm going A tier on this one, because I think the fact you can switch between two different chimes is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
And it is definitely...
And it's not on command.
Exactly.
So you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
But then let's be realistic here. Other Grand Comps coming up. Do I want a constant charming watch? You can put it on silent mode. You know, there's lots of different ways of doing it, but I agree that's why it's probably not S.
Yeah, 100%. We'll put it there. And then one that we've sold recently. I know our opinions on this. We can both agree that this is a lovely piece, 5270 P as well, with the green against the platinum. I think, wow.
It's a lovely watch.
Yeah.
I think it's the 4th generation of 5270, or it's the 4th generation of a chronograph with a perpetual calendar that Patek Philippe have done. Introduced fairly recently, I think it was 22. Mm-hmm. The green is unlike...
You know what, it looks really out there on pictures.
Yeah.
But in person, I wouldn't say it's subtle. It's not subtle.
No.
It's out there, but it works so well against the platinum.
Yeah.
Platinum is extremely... I mean, white isn't the word, but it's an extremely bright,
it's noticeable.
Precious metal. So it's very noticeable against that, and I think the contrast works amazing.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's graduated green as well, so it goes to a darker hue
and a sunburst
around the outside.
So when it's in the natural light, it's a lovely piece. I mean, this is when we were talking about value for money. This is still a grand complication. So you can tell people you have a grand complication. It can be this. It can be the Grandmaster Chime. But this will cost you less than some Nautiluses, than some Aquanauts. You know, you can pick one up around 130, 135,000 pounds, and that is 50,000 pounds less than retail price.
Yeah.
So you go to Patek Philippe, paying around 188,000 pounds, and don't get me wrong, I think it should be worth that.
Yeah.
As a watch.
What, around 135,000?
I think it should be worth what the retail is.
Yeah, 100%.
The perpetual calendar that you've got on it, the chronograph, it's incredibly hard to set. As well as we know, it's not as popular, and it should be.
It should be, and I mean they used to make the reference with the black dial, and the white dial as well,
and a salmon.
So, you know, and the salmon. So if you do prefer the more neo-vintage look of this watch, you know, you have that option. It's pretty much the same function. Obviously, it's an updated movement on this one, but yeah, I'm putting this one. You know, I might put it in S tier.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
value for money. What you get with the watch, the look, the feel, and everything I said about leather straps before on the 5712s.
Yeah,
this is different.
Exactly. And then, you know, this is my personal favorite. I'll say it up front. 5373P, hands down, is top 3 grand complications for me. I might be biased because I am left-handed, and it is made for the destro hand.
Was it the first left-handed chronograph that Patek have done?
I believe so.
Yeah.
And it's rumored that they won't keep this movement in production for too long. It was actually a movement that they had to recreate and essentially flip to make the left-hand chronograph movement for this. So, yeah, I think the fact that it's one of a kind in its own sense,
absolutely,
puts it up there for me.
It's the first watch that we've looked at today that's got a split-second chronograph as well.
Yep. Which
is quite interesting. You can obviously time 2 different events, and you can stop them independently. How much you'll use it, I don't know, but it's still quite an interesting thing.
It's just a very satisfying thing to do. Yeah.
It was one of the watches that I wasn't in when it came in, when we sold one last year.
You were joined after.
Yeah.
But,
so I'm a bit more harsh on it than the rest of the team that have seen it.
Yeah. I'll tell you the finishing of this piece. You know, even down to the dial, they have these vertical lines that go through it.
Yeah.
That almost give this brush finish. You know, the red contrasts the black so nicely. It does look very sporty.
Yeah.
But I think that it serves that purpose for a reason. And it's very different to obviously the rest of the Grand Complication line.
Yeah.
Because of the sportiness of this watch. It's much smaller in case size as well. I think it's 38.6 or 38.8 millimeters. Which kind of aligns more so with how Grand Complications used to look back in the day.
True.
So for
brings
me,
a modern element to it.
This definitely...
You've sold it to me.
Is up there,
I'll take one.
I'm putting it S tier anyway.
Mazal.
The 6300 400G is the next piece. What do you see?
It's a you piece.
Yeah.
Blur that. It's the white gold version of the Grandmaster Chime from 2014.
Yep.
I don't know how to explain it to somebody that doesn't know about it or hasn't seen it. 409 baguette cut diamonds, and each individually they're 31 carats.
Yeah, and when you look at Patek's setting on any watch, it's impeccable. I don't know who is doing it, but you know, it's always been flawless. Even on the Nautilus models that we've seen, you know, on Aquanaut even.
And he's been doing it for a long time.
Exactly.
As well,
so
over 200 years. He must be like an old.
Yeah, he must be really old. Yeah, no, this one for me, you know, the first time I saw this watch was a post with Jay-Z, and he was wearing it, and at the time I think it was valued around like $10 million.
Yeah.
So to me that was ludicrous, but that was before I joined the watch industry, and you kind of see, okay, is it justified? I don't know.
It's hard enough to make a watch like this with one dial.
Yeah.
You flip it over, it's got a second.
Yeah. And with how many functions inside the watch?
20.
Exactly. So that's 20 different patterns they've had to do for those functions as well.
It's got an alarm. I think it's got an alarm time in it as well, which was patented. It's I can't really get my head around.
Yeah.
And
it's one watch I think I'm going to reserve my judgment for the day that I do see one in person, especially in the diamond variation of it.
Sure.
Because I know they obviously have the emerald, sapphire, ruby.
Yeah.
Which would also be much more interesting, at least for me, to see those, because...
Let's break it up into that then, because this is white gold, so it's more reserved.
Yep.
But is this watch made to be reserved? It's got over 400 diamonds in it. It's not, obviously it's one of the most complicated, it's not the most complicated watch that Patek made. That was the first grand complication. I think it was in 1989 when they released it. It was a pocket watch. But go for the emerald.
Yeah.
Go for the sapphire. Go for the ruby.
I think so. If you're gonna go for an you piece, blur that. Go for something even louder. Why not? Because you're already looking at probably one of the loudest looking watches you could possibly have on your wrist. I don't even know if you could wear that on your wrist, but we've seen it on Jay-Z, so I guess
I'd have it on a chain.
There you go. So where are we putting this?
A. I think that's harsh.
A only because I'll put the emerald at S. I'll put the ruby maybe at S. And the sapphire as well.
Even the original Grandmaster Chime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So going on to, obviously, like it's a classic piece for us now, having sold 3 of these in the last year. You know, every time I've seen this watch, it gets better and better. And it's just a privilege really to see it in person. It's so different compared to other grand complications. It's the 5316-50p.
Yeah.
You've seen it.
I have.
I know you didn't even look at it that much because you were like, well, I don't know what to think. But
yeah, I tell you what, it's everything that you have described to me that the 5373p does because it's modern. It's the modern take on a grand complication. I just think aesthetically the 5373p isn't something I'm the biggest fan of.
That's fair enough.
But the 5316-50p is aesthetically unbelievable.
I mean, I mean, I guess comparing the two is obviously it's like apples and pears.
Exactly. But it's just because I would see those two as modern.
Yeah, 100%. No, I agree with you there. So the 5373p for me as well, I guess I would rank it where I ranked it because of the value as well. You know, you're looking at a watch more or less you can buy around list.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's also something I factored in, didn't touch on. But the 5316 does sell over list. You know, you're looking at 1.65 million. So again, it's around the realm of the 6301 that we just talked about.
Absolutely.
But for me, that is worth every single penny. And it's like you said, it's modern, it's innovative. The way they've done a blue sapphire crystal that's also see-through, that has some sort of a graduated hue on it as well.
Absolutely.
But allows you to see every single, you know, little individual part put into this. I think it's over like 350 parts put into movement alone.
It's when we went, if we sort of go back to the 5650G, when they kind of did half. I think this is going the whole way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, in terms of the fact that it's got a tourbillon, it's got a perpetual calendar, It's
got the minute repeater.
Got the minute repeater,
which is obviously the difference to the 6301 is that the minute repeater is on command. So you effectively have to pull down the, what do you call it? Pusher, slider.
It's a slider, pusher. Not necessarily a pusher. You slide the activation on the side, which will then trigger the minute repeater, and then it will chime the hours and the quarters after the hours, and then the minutes as well. Hence the minute repeater after the quarters. So it literally gives you the exact time.
I think it's better than the Grand Sonnery and the Petit Sonnery, because obviously you get the full time, but it's on command, so you can you can do it for your friends.
To put it on silent mode.
You do it for your family. You don't have to keep seeing your friends and family at at the hour or the quarter past. You can see them all the time and just play at once.
Exactly. I think aesthetically they just hit the nail on the head, and they previously had this model with the black enamel dial. Which obviously was more classic Patek, but I think they really pushed making something different in that range. So that is S tier, 100%.
I think for us as a company, the 5316/50p is the perfect watch to get a younger generation into the Grand Complications. But actually, a bit of a fun fact about the minute repeaters, they're not waterproof. Yeah,
exactly. So definitely don't wash your hands with them on or go into the water ever. And lastly, 6102R, that's the non-diamond bezel Grand Complication Celestial. Amazing piece. I've always, the first time I saw this was on LeBron James actually. He was wearing it, and Travis Scott had the same watch at the time. So for me, obviously, I got into Grand Comps more so because of the pop culture around it. Maybe that's,
and it's nice to see, it's refreshing to see them wearing something like that.
And they had the diamond set variation, whereas this is more plain. I'm going to say I'm more of a fan of the platinum version. But I'm not sure if you agree with me, but I feel like that is, for the simplicity of it, it's just a
the blue dial
more intriguing.
On the platinum is nice. I prefer the rose on the Celestial, but only because of the contrast with the black dial. It looks more like a night sky.
Exactly. It's a deep black against the rose, and then I think if I was to take it a step up, then the diamond variation of this is a lot better looking. And it's definitely probably the dressiest watch, that you could have from Patek.
Because I think the thing that people always think with the Grand Complications is that they can be thick. Don't get me wrong, we know there are some thick Grand Complications out there, but this, even though it's 44 millimeters, so it's still quite a big watch, I think it's about 10.2, 10.3 millimeters
so it wears
in thickness.
Under the cuff.
Exactly, it wears under the cuff. So what you're saying about it being a dress watch is bang on.
So I'm going to put this A for me, only because I think if I was to choose it, I'd put the diamond variation above it at S.
Agreed.
But so we got quite a few in S and A, which kind of shows that maybe Patek is the brand to be going for.
I think if it was AP, probably won't be as many.
No.
And it's also quite hard to be harsh on Patek.
I mean,
if they were, like we said, if they're cubitises, which I'm sure we'll see in the next series, we'll be a bit harsher.
Exactly.
So there we have our Patek Philippe tier list, the first in this series. We've got a couple of other models that we'd like to look into, and I think we're due a part 2, but we're still friends at the end of it. I think we've put a good list together, and we've looked into some decent Grand Complications. So let us know down in the comments which pieces you prefer, where you'd put them, and what we got wrong.
And remember, if you enjoyed the video, to like, comment and subscribe. And if you want to see more tier lists, leave a comment below.